Hello and welcome to the Film Obsessed Couple. I'm Shelly.
And I'm Scott.
If you're a new listener, we really appreciate you choosing us to listen to. Scott and I are a married couple obsessed about movies. Scott is more analytical while I'm a little bit more open minded. We're unscripted, unfiltered, and hopefully we leave you with a little something to think about.
And unsponsored.
So if you would like to change that, let us know. So get ready as we dive in.
Yes, welcome back to another episode. We are here again with Howard the Duck.
Woo!
You sounded excited when we were talking about this one before. So this is a movie that you had obviously seen before?
Yes. Yeah, actually the last couple of movies I've been just thrilled because they're just like favorite childhood movies of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Which when we did childhood movies, it was really hard to choose which one. So I'm glad we're getting to these.
Well, we did childhood movies. I was like, what movie would you like to talk about? And you were like,
It's like, what was that one with the monsters under the bed?
I was like, anything at all. Anything at all.
And then I started like a ton of scary movies, like the Puppet Master.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I was like, maybe we'll save some of those for Halloween, and we did.
Yeah,
and
we
we could
did.
do. That's a good idea for Halloween, Puppet Master.
Yeah.
I had seen this as a kid, and I was telling you because we were watching it. As we get into the third half of the movie, it scared the shit out of me as a kid.
Right?
Because I think I was very little when I saw it, and the whole possession thing and the guy going crazy. Watching it now, it looks a little silly, but back then I was like, oh my god, that guy's possessed by a demon.
It's weird. I don't remember this scaring me, but I was very much into scary movies. So maybe that's why it didn't scare me.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really watch scary movies that much as a kid. I remember being kind of like a coward, being like afraid of them, and I had a lot of bad anxiety, which wasn't treated at the time. You know, I had OCD, and it's an anxiety disorder, so I would always have like anxiety about things. So I would watch these movies, and it would just scare me or freak me out. I remember I saw a like an ad on TV for the new Nightmare on Elm Street movie at the time that was out, and it like scared the shit out of me. It was like the one, I think it was 5 or so. I can't remember the number, but it's the one where the dude, like Freddy Krueger, comes through the waterbed at this dude.
Yeah.
I saw that on TV and I was freaked out. I think my parents even had the waterbed still at that point.
Oh.
I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, some things as a kid can really mess you up.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just kills me thinking back on it. Like, my parents had a waterbed for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, that does not seem good.
No.
Like, you know, if you want to sleep on your side, I imagine you just sink into it.
Yeah, I remember having a water bed. Like my stepmom really loved them.
Mm-hmm.
So there was like, I think we had two. One in my room. I don't think my brothers had any, and then they had one. And I'm telling you, that was awful.
Oh, yeah.
Even as a kid to get in and out of, and as long as you could stay still, you're fine.
Yeah.
But you move around and it's all like.
Yeah, can you imagine having sex on one of those things?
Ugh.
Not to imagine my parents having sex on it, but just in general.
Ew. No. Let's not.
No, I just was like, in general, you know.
That, I'd be like, let's move to the floor, get some rug burn. It's all good.
But yeah, Howard the Duck this was like one of the first, I think, please don't call me on it, or do if you want, I don't care, Marvel movies back in the day.
Really?
Yeah, Howard the Duck was a Marvel comic property.
Had no idea. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it was funny, I was reading some history on Howard the Duck that came out in like the 70s, started. And apparently, at the time, he was just a duck that wore like a jacket and a tie and no pants. And Disney was like, fuck you, that's a little too much like Donald Duck. So I guess they sued him and they made him change to where he wears pants now. And I was like, how funny is that? Because now Disney owns Marvel.
Oh man, he can go pantless now.
Yeah, maybe they were like, oh, you ripped us off for Donald Duck? Fuck you, one day we'll own your ass.
He can be free.
Yeah, apparently they made fun of him in the comics where he had to wear pants because there was some group that was like fighting against public nudity or something, named like something Sydney. So it was like an anagram of Disney, and he owned a theme park named Sydney World, and he was like, "Oh, that duck's nude. I want him to wear pants."
Oh, wow.
So it was kind of funny because I was watching the movie and like he's got pants on and his tail like pokes out. He's got a hole for his tail.
It's cute.
I'm like, why don't they just? I mean, it's not like you can see their duck dick.
Maybe.
They, yeah, these ducks. We don't really get an explanation of it here, but like, women do have breasts in this. Like, I mean, they really do have breasts, but actual titties.
Yeah, like the lumps.
So who knows? Maybe he's got a Howard the Duck dick.
So I guess that's our theme of this episode is talking about ducks and their dicks.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that ducks' dicks are corkscrewed or something like that. They're like,
no idea.
yeah, maybe I may be making that up or imagining that in my own head.
Wow.
We'll post a picture if we can find it.
Oh no. No, I won't.
So for the only time in the movie we get narration where this narrator is coming over and he's like, "Oh, throughout the universe there are different multiverses," and I was like, "Damn, Marvel's already doing the different multiverses in their very first movie." Because they're doing all that shit now where it's like hopping multiverses.
I did not put two and two together, but I was like, this reminds me of Star Wars. The narrating towards the
Oh, like the text coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a very like it's like Howard the Duck.
Yeah. Exactly. That was very good.
But it's all like, oh, there's different universes and who knows what could happen. There could be ducks with tits and ducks with dicks. Let's see how many times I can say duck dick in this.
Okay, a new drinking game for this episode.
But this is Duck World, and I guess that is true to the comics from the little bit I was reading earlier. Seems like everything is the same except it's just ducks instead of people. Because as the movie opens, we see Howard go through his duck apartment, and he's got like posters, which, you know how much this suit of Howard the Duck's cost?
No.
$2 million.
Like the whole thing?
It just
not just the clothing, but the whole
like the head. I think there's like animatronics in the head to make it like move and shit.
Yeah.
So it says $2 million in 1986 would have been about $5.5 million today.
Jeez, wow.
George Lucas always gets a bad rap for this movie where they were like, "Oh yeah, George Lucas is Howard the Duck," but he did not direct it.
Did they make a lot of money on this film? Do you know?
It says it cost $30 to $37 million to make, and it made $38 million.
Okay.
So no, like when you break even like that, it's not really a win in Hollywood.
No.
And it's so funny that Hollywood accounting, when a movie is like, this movie made $400 million at the box office, and then the studios will be like, "Yep, we lost a ton of money on it, can't pay it," and then really they do that. Look into that shit.
Wow.
They were like, "We lost so much money on that. Oh, it made $1 billion. Yep, we are completely at a loss on that.
We are broke as fuck."
I think it's that Hollywood accounting where they were like, "Yeah, we don't know where that billion went. Here's my new house."
Oh my gosh.
But the guy that directed this is Willard Hayek. And this is his last movie he ever directed. Apparently, he never directed another one after this.
Wow, I didn't think it was that bad.
But we go through Howard's apartment and we see all these things. He's got like posters up and stuff, like Raiders of the Lost Stork, like Raiders of the Lost Ark. Just posters with duck in them somehow. It doesn't show his face for some time. He's like walking through his house, and it's kind of like the opening to Back to the Future, where it's like showing all the stuff on the wall, and then it shows like Doc's place before you actually see Marty's face.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, we spent almost $5 million in 2023 money on this. We're going to wait to show that face. He's drinking, he's making himself a nice drink, and then he sits down to watch TV. We see various bad TV that he's watching, just like
Commercials.
humans do, yeah.
Yeah.
He's reading Rolling Egg magazine, by the way.
Oh, yes. There's a lot of like, there's an egg thing that I'll point out here in a minute. But
Yeah, another poster I have in my notes is he's My Little Chickadee, starring Mae Nest, Mae West, and W.C. Fowle, who
oh,
was W.C. Fields.
clever.
Oh, and Breeders of the Lost Stork was the name. So, Breeders. That sounds a little worse. Trying to fuck that stork with his duck dick.
Yikes. That was loud. Yikes.
His commercials, I have them here. He was watching a commercial for Jock Itch and Feather Buster. But he's tired of that, so he pulls out a Play Duck magazine, and this is the first nude duck we get.
Yes.
It's like a duck wearing lingerie, and you see her boobs.
See her lumps. Her lady lumps.
And he's like, oh yeah, baby. Well, this is where we finally get the movie going here, because you're like, I'm going to watch this duck jerk off.
Ew.
But his recliner starts going and gets pulled out of his apartment.
Yeah.
He gets sucked out.
Sucked right out. You think there's an earthquake or something.
At first, yeah, and then his couch, his like recliner levitates and then gets pulled out. Of course, as he gets sucked out of his apartment building, he goes through the bathroom of a neighbor next to him, and it is a duck woman bathing herself. Of course, you see her duck tits again.
Duck tits.
He gets sucked out of, it looks like a tunnel is going into Duck World, and he gets sucked out of that through space. I was like, I guess this tunnel allows him to breathe, because that'd be funny if he just got sucked out into space and his head blew up.
Or he catches on fire.
Yeah, we just watched the newest What We Do in the Shadows, and there is a
Spoiler.
catching on fire, falling back to Earth joke. And wouldn't you know it, he falls to 1986 Earth.
Yes, and we get a picture back at his Earth, and it is shaped like an egg.
Okay, I was like, did I forget that? I must have been writing it down, but yeah, it's shaped like an egg.
Yeah, it was so funny. It had like the features of our Earth, but it's just, instead of round, it's shaped like an egg.
I think I did read it here where I put down and had 2 moons as well.
Okay, I didn't notice that.
I wonder how that would affect it. I guess it would shape. I don't know how. I guess we could make an entire podcast on the gravity situation. And
That sounds thrilling, but let's pass.
so Howard falls into like an alley on Earth. We get like this punk club. I don't know the name of it or didn't catch it, but basically Leah Thompson and her band are playing in this club, and they are like a punk band. Mm-hmm. Which I did read in the trivia. She says she still has this guitar that she was playing in it, which is a Gibson Les Paul. Which if if I would do Howard the Duck if I got a nice guitar like that.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah, she'd be like, oh, I don't know about doing this movie. I gotta pet this thing like I'm gonna have sex with it. Well, here's a Gibson Les Paul. Well, okay, well, sure.
Oh, there's actually a little child in this suit, and I've got to pretend like I want to have sex with him.
So he is a short person, but he was only 13 at the time.
Jesus Christ.
Born in 1973 in this film, or 12, because it probably filmed in 85.
That's so bad.
So yes, it is a child. Thank God because apparently Shelley's got a lot of jokes lined up for that. But he is a shorter person, I guess. But yes, at the time he was 12 to 13 years old filming this adult movie, which is not for kids.
No, even though, well, most of the movies I watched as a kid were not for kids.
Right, but you figure parents are watching that, and then they're like, "Whoa, it's a wacky adventure of a duck who comes to our planet," and then it's like, "Oh, well, this dude gets possessed. He can kill people.
Yeah.
He gets crazier looking as we go."
Yeah, the first 5 minutes should tell parents this is not a children's movie.
I just imagine they're watching it and like, "All right, kids, settle in. We're watching Howard the Duck," and he's like, "Play duck." Oh, there's some duck titty. Well, let's go. All right, kids, we got to get going. So basically, it's just Howard is kind of freaking out. He's running away from like these women on motorcycles at one point.
Satan sluts.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's a good name.
I love it.
That's like in The Simpsons where they start their own motorcycle club. They call them the Hell Satans.
Oh, nice.
There is a very fucking weird thing here where these punks grab Howard the Duck as if there's any other Howard in this movie. Howard.
Who?
Howard the Duck.
Which one was Howard?
Howard the Duck. And they push him into the arms of the doorman, and they're like, "Oh, here's your date."
Yeah, and this door guy is not like your average. He's kind of, I don't want to make fun of anybody like this because he was a good looking guy. He was just kind of lanky. Is that a good term?
Well, what's weird about it, yeah, Gelenki is right, but what is very weird is the owner of this bar sees Howard the Duck, as you would know, as you know him, Howard to his friends. And it's like, I know a bad costume when I see one. Get out of here, kid. And he throws Howard out. And the doorman's like, hey, that was my date. Like, so he's fine with it?
He was ready to get down with a 13-year-old.
Like, it wasn't like a joke that these guys, he probably told these punks, like, can you guys go find me a date?
Oh.
Kids are not off the table.
And disclaimer, I'm not making fun of any kind of child abuse. Been there, done that. So I would not want that on anybody, but it's just funny.
Yeah, it's very strange. Well, all while this is happening, Howard keeps kind of doing one-liners here where he's like, I'm a dead duck.
Yes.
He gets knocked into a trash can and he's just like, talk about a rotten day. Yeah.
I waited until I'm like, I'm going to say it at the same time.
And he just hangs out in this trash can until Leah Thompson comes out of the bar eventually and is like walking down the alleyway. And she gets accosted by two dudes, which one of them I wrote down says, hey baby, can you sign my shorts?
Oh, okay. Well, how about if I punch you in the dick?
Yeah. Well, Howard gets out of the trash can here and he decides to save her and he says, no more Mr. Nice Duck.
Mm-hmm. He's like, leave the girl creature alone.
Well, one of the guys is like, oh, I'm seeing a duck. I must have done too much toot.
Yeah, that's right. I wrote that down too. I'm like, toot?
That's Coke, I think, right?
I don't know, but it sounds just weird. Like tutti frutti.
I think it's cocaine. Yeah, it's the portion of cocaine that a person snorts. That's from Google.
That's a toot? So what's the stuff that you don't snort?
Leftovers. Using
Bag that up for later.
Hey, don't worry, that won't last very long. It'll be out in a minute. But it's like, I've been doing too much toots. Did you just toot? Yes, I did. I toot all day.
I toot every hour.
When I go to the bathroom, I toot hard. Like, I tooted.
I don't know why that's so funny. Oh.
Well, he is gonna beat these guys up because he is a master of quack fu. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm a master of quack fu.
Which, if you don't know, that's kung fu.
For the people in the back, that is kung fu. So, Leah Thompson is named Beverly in this movie, which apparently that is Howard's girl in the comic books, is Beverly. They wanted to stay true enough to the comics that they were like, we need Howard to have a sexy lady.
Well, yeah.
He's like, where are we? And she's like, Cleveland. And he's like, no, what planet is this? And she's like, Earth, I think.
Yeah, and he's like, Cleveland?
Which begs the question, I guess Cleveland does not exist in Duck World.
I guess not.
I don't know. Sorry, Ohio.
Maybe it's Cleve Pond.
I was trying to think of something, yeah. 7 hours later. Cleve Pond. Wait, did you say that? Did you say that 7 hours ago?
Oh, damn.
He's like, I don't need your help. Thank you very much. And she walks away, and of course it starts raining. And she sees him kind of like button up his jacket a little bit more, and she's like, oh, I feel so bad for this duck, although ducks usually are fine in the rain.
Yeah, he was even like wiggling his little butt,
Yeah, because I don't know if we talked about it already, but his pants has like a little duck tail coming out of it. Yeah. Like they specifically have like a slit in the back for the tail.
That's how you know he's a duck.
Yeah, Howard, the duck is not his last name.
I mean, you can't tell any other way, but when you see that tail sticking out.
Yeah, maybe he was like, well, I got to get back home and for my friend Richard. And like, Richard who? Oh, Richard the duck. He's married to Sally the duck. My mom, Annie the duck. And she's like, my name's Beverly. And he's like, oh, Beverly the human? Is that how your names work here?
Is that how that goes?
But they go back to her apartment, and she's like, oh, do you want milk? I can put it in a bowl for you.
That's so cute.
And he's like, the fuck are you talking about?
We gotta think, okay. That I probably would have acted the same way.
Well, you know what would have been a better joke? Ducks. Should have been like, you want some bread? I can give you some of this moldy bread. He starts like chasing after.
Tear it up, throw it on the floor.
I can ball up this bread. I'll throw it in water for you if you want to dive for it.
Oh, yeah.
But he asks you for a beer. He's like, I'll take a beer. And I'm like, how does your system work? Like, you give a duck a beer, which I don't know if has ever happened, but I would love to see what would happen. But he's not very big if he's like, I'll drink one beer, and he's just wasted off his ass.
Plastered, yeah.
Well, he sits down in the chair in her apartment, and it starts vibrating, and he's like freaking the fuck out, but it's just a big truck going by.
He's traumatized, man.
Yeah, he's like, not again!
PTSD.
Yeah. And we get a little bit of his backstory here. He tells her he at first went to med school to be a plastic surgeon to do tail tucks.
Yeah.
And he was just like, I didn't want to do that, so I started working construction and wrote songs.
Yeah, that's better than being a doctor.
Yeah, you could have all the money you wanted, but I guess, if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe he was like, I wasn't smart enough to pass the exams. I accidentally killed a patient.
Jesus, I can't even imagine all the stuff that they have to go through.
And duck anatomy? Oh my god.
I mean, they have tiny bodies, but they're complicated.
Yeah, you probably got to go to school for like 15 years for duck anatomy. I don't know. Probably not. He falls asleep, and she starts like touching him, like, oh, he's real. They're like, this is real. And his wallet falls out, and she starts going through it.
Yeah, this was cute.
I wrote down some of the things that I could see. He has a Mallard card, MasterCard. He has a Blooming Ducks card, and George Washington money with a duck on it. He's got like a bill. And you want to know if this is for kids? She pulls out a tiny condom.
Teeny tiny.
Yeah, poor lady, if they're gonna get it on later.
Yeah.
She goes, Howard.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, I didn't know what that was when I watched this as a kid.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah.
I think that I was just kind of like, oh, okay, he's got, I don't know, bubble gum? Was that bubble gum?
Well, do you remember ever watching the Coneheads movie? He chews condoms. He's like blowing bubbles with them.
Nice.
So the next day, she's like, I am going to take you to my scientist friend. And at the time, I was like, how does she know this guy? But we find out later he's dating one of the women in the band.
That's right.
But she's like taking him in a cab, and he is stuffed into a trash bag.
Which she poked holes in it.
Yeah, but they're not even trying to hide the fact that he's in there because she's talking to it.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, can I get out of this thing now? And she's like, Howard, come on, we're almost there. And you think people would be like, is there a kid in there?
I'd be like, yeah, this is how he likes to travel.
Yeah,
He's got problems.
So talk about the people that must be ashamed of this movie. We've already met Leah Thompson. We had now introduced to Tim Robbins, who plays this scientist that you think is a scientist, but it turns out he's like an lab assistant.
Yeah, he just wants to be a scientist.
He sees Howard, she brings him to him, and he immediately leaves the room to go into like this meeting of all the other scientists. And he's all like, you're never going to believe this. Oh my God. You don't know what I just saw. And he kind of thinks and realizes that no one will believe him or doesn't want them to know at this time. And he's like, nothing. I saw nothing. And he just leaves.
He is over the top.
Yeah.
He's, I mean, of course, if you think about it, seeing Howard the Duck, it would freak me out. And I would probably talk a mile a minute, but there's a lot.
Yes. Yeah, he is.
And the lighting, I don't know. I'm guessing they meant to do this to make like the shadowing from his glasses kind of make him look like a mad scientist, kind of thing. That's the vibe I was getting.
Yeah. Well, I had to look it up because Tim Robbins was in Top Gun, the first one as well. And I was like, I wonder what year Top Gun came out. The same year as Howard the Duck.
Oh, wow.
So, and he's not, in all of Top Gun. He's there in a little bit, so probably filming them here and there. But can you just imagine? He's sitting with Tom Cruise in the set, and he's all like, well, Tom, what do you got going on now? And he's like, well, I'm working with Martin Scorsese on a movie called The Color of Money. I'm working with Paul Newman. It's going to be amazing. And he's like, how about you, Tim? What are you doing? He's like, Howard the Duck. Working on Howard the Duck.
They're like, oh, okay.
like, oh.
So we're going to go over here now, Tim, and you just stay right here.
That's why he's probably like, hey, I hear you're doing Top Gun Maverick, it's been years and years. We've both gone on to many things, and Tim Robbins, I've won an Oscar since then, Tom. Do you think that I could be in Top Gun Maverick? And he's like, no, I can't be with anybody was in a Howard the Duck.
Yeah, sorry.
You went, wicker, wicker, wicker. I'm not going to ever see you or talk to you again.
Which, I mean, probably good. Because then maybe Tom would want him to be into Scientology. And
maybe.
that is a little bit mad scientist-y, so...
He wasn't into Scientology at the time, I don't think, but it would have been funny if he's like, well, I'm in this movie Howard the Duck, and it's about a duck that, is sucked from his dimension, and he has to fight like an evil overlord from another world, and Tom's like, wait, that really happened. He's like, what? He's like, did you not know this? Yeah, evil dark lords from the other dimension will suck people out from other worlds.
You have to pay $1 million for this not to happen.
Yeah, you have to pay so much money for this to not happen, but if you're not careful, one day you're looking at a play duck and you just get sucked out of another world. Mm-hmm. He's like, play duck? He's like, yeah, I have them make me play duck magazines. I jerk off to ducks.
Duck boobies. Duck lumps.
Duck dicks.
Baby duck dicks.
Howard gets pissed off at Tim Robbins here because he's asking him if he has like superpowers and stuff, and he's like, "Oh, can you fly?" And so he runs off, and then they catch up to him, and this is where Tim Robbins kind of gives his whole idea about like they're in a museum, and he's like, "Well, look at here. It shows the evolution of man, where it was like we were once cavemen and evolved into men, and it kind of flashes to what he was like." At some point, they evolved from ducks to the point to where they didn't need to fly anymore. That's probably where you're from. That's probably what happened. And he's like, yeah, this is, any kid in school learns this when they grow up. And Tim Robbins' name is Phil, and Howard keeps calling him Philzy throughout the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Because he's cool.
And Tim Robbins is like, God, I hope this movie never comes out. I'm doing a Top Gun movie right now. God, I hope this never comes out. So they leave the museum, and Howard's pretty pissed off because he's trying to find out a way to get home, and these kids are like trying to like take photos with him because they think he's like a performer.
Oh yeah.
And he like yells at them and screams, and they all run off. I'm like, even if I was a kid, I think I could probably take this thing. Although he does know Quack Fu,
which is kung fu.
Again, if you cannot remember, that is also Quack Fu. Quack Fu is kung fu.
I got you. Don't worry.
They get into a fight, Leah Thompson and Howard, and he tells her to get out of his life, so she runs off. And I wrote it in my notes. My notes are kind of, I was like, what did I try to write here? But she gets super mad at him and runs off and is like hurt. And I'm like, you've known this thing for a night.
Yeah. So do you think her acting is a little over the top?
I definitely know that she can do better, but she's always talking like this throughout the whole thing. Like Ducky. Calling him Ducky, by the way.
Yeah.
Ew. Maybe she was like, I was in Back to the Future.
I just kind of felt like she was overacting. Just like over embellishing some things. And I didn't think it was bad.
Yeah.
And I like her a lot, but I just was like, well, maybe that's what they wanted. The director or whatever.
Yeah. Well, Howard is on his own now, so he does what any rational person would do when he goes on a job hunt.
Gotta get a job, man.
So it looks like he goes to like a job placement location service or something.
Yeah.
He's in different clothes, and you hear him say that he had to shoplift from the little tyke section in the store.
'Cause I'm only 13.
I guess this woman thinking that this dude has no qualms about this dude being a duck, but she's all like bitching him out for being a slacker.
Well, Automay, or Automay, I think was her name.
Something like that, yeah.
Anyway, but they're like, they always send the freaks to me.
Oh,
The
okay.
people that can't find a job. And, she went on and on and on about, how she's the best and she can place anybody in a job.
Yeah, because she's like, I'll find your ass a job. She bends over to get like paperwork out of her drawer, and her ass is like in Howard's face.
For like 5 minutes.
And he goes to make like he's gonna bite it, like he's horny for this woman.
I think mad.
Oh, okay. I took it as in like, oh my god, look at this big ass in my face. I can't wait.
Because she just basically chewed him out, called him a piece of shit, and that she was going to find him a job.
I guess I read it differently, but yeah, that makes sense because I was like, why is he all of a sudden horny for this old black woman? He's just like, tries to bite her.
He likes big asses.
I guess so. Well, he gets a job at a spa, which is basically a sex spa.
Yeah, and she said that he'll take this job like a duck in water.
Dun, dun.
Doo-doo.
And he's like walking down the hallway, like he's got like a towels and stuff like that, and there's just people running all over here, like getting it on.
Yeah, I'm like, what are we? Is this what they call a brothel?
I don't know, a sex spa or something.
Sex spa, okay.
I had watched that Jeffrey Dahmer show, and the one that everyone was talking about like a year or so ago. And there is like an episode of him like going to these spas and drugging people. So I just half expected him to be like putting towels away, and there's like this Jeffrey Dahmer back there with this dude passed out on his lap.
Oh, dear Lord.
I know it's messed up, but he makes some joke about how they mate. He says it must be mating season,
I didn't hear that. That's funny.
something like that. Well, Howard's boss is like a dude with like a baseball cap and these big glasses, and this dude is sweating his ass off.
Just nasty.
Yeah. I don't remember why he does it, but he throws Howard into, he says the hot tub is clogged.
Yeah.
And he throws Howard in the pool with people in it.
And he says he can't swim.
Which, yeah, I guess ducks, as you get older, or this new generation of ducks, don't need to swim anymore.
That's weird.
We cut to this owner, and I was like, is he cleaning out like a trash pit or something? But he's cleaning out like a mud pit because it's a spa.
Mud bath, yeah.
Mud bath, yeah. And he pulls like a bra out of it.
Ooh.
And I'm just like, my God, what is this spa?
I don't even want to touch anything in this place. It has probably got like cum all over it.
I was about to say, Howard, there's cum in the hot tub again. Can you get it out?
Yuck.
Well, Howard is so pissed off at this dude that he slides on water and knocks this dude into the mud pit.
Yeah, it was so cool.
Yeah, he's like, I quit.
He can't swim, but he can slide on water.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's two different things.
Two
but
different
still,
kind of things, yeah. I mean,
it's water and water.
You're not swimming, you're just kind of like using it.
But he knows how to slide.
Does he not know how to drink? Because he can't swim?
People listening are like, oh my God, what?
No. I'm just laughing.
I'm just messing.
Well, Howard's like walking down the street. He gets off a bus and he's like depressed, I guess, because he doesn't have a job. There is a very funny guy as he gets off the bus. This dude's like looking at him and he goes, "That's a duck. That's a duck, man."
It is a duck, man.
I am the duck, man. He's watching TV and he sees like hunting shows and like guys shooting ducks. There's a very funny line where on TV this hillbilly guy is like, "You gotta blast them beep out of the sky."
What?
He's like, because he's swearing on TV.
I guess in Cleveland, they hunt a lot of ducks.
I guess so. Yeah, it's just duck season.
Yeah.
Not rabbit season this time. Duck season.
It's not a good time to be Howard the Duck
No.
in Cleveland.
Well, Howard makes his way back to the punk club where Leah Thompson is, and he overhears the manager, which these guys are somebody, he's been in a bunch, but I think one of those dudes is the guy in Ferris Bueller, where they steal the nice car when they park it, and it shows them, like, ramping it. He's been in a bunch of stuff, but Howard overhears the manager talking about how he's screwing these women over.
What I find interesting is that she is singing this depressing song like she just broke up with like her boyfriend or whatever. And in my head, I'm just like, oh my God, this is a little kid. as a little kid.
Well, Howard himself, yes, is supposed to be older, but it is weird when you think about it.
Well, I know in the whole movie concept, sure. But, like, it's just, I don't know. It's just, I can't get over it. But, and then all of a sudden she's like, screw this. Let's do something more upbeat.
Yeah.
And then it gets a little different vibe going on.
And people in the audience are like, did you find it weird when she said, like, I want your duck dick? Like, I want to do it with you ducky style. It was just weird.
That was a little weird.
I want to have sex with your 13-year-old body. Like,
I like how small you are.
I think we need to get out of here.
I didn't like that at all.
Yeah.
It made me feel very uncomfortable.
So basically, Howard is at the bar with this manager because the guy's like, oh, here's the money for all the girls. And the manager's like, I'll hold on to it for them. And then they laugh like,
Again, a little overacting.
well, I mean, these people are in a Howard the Duck movie.
I know. I guess everybody is kind of overacting.
It'd just be, if they talked like Laszlo from What We Do in the Shadows. I'll hold on to that for them. So, but Howard's like, give me their money. And the manager looks over at these two other guys, and the guy's like, well, I told you when you started being a manager, you were going to run into some showbiz type people. Well, they get into a fight. Wouldn't you know it? This dude, like, takes Howard and throws him down the bar.
Yeah, I think they underestimate his quack foo.
Which is what?
Ass. It's kung fu.
Okay. Good, now we're back on track. Howard gets back up and punches him, and this dude I think it's the bartender maybe, hands Howard a bottle, and Howard smashes it over his head.
Yeah.
This guy's trying to stab Howard with an ice pick, but he gets it, and it's like he's gonna stab him, and everyone's like, oh my god, but he stabs it through his earring.
Ooh.
And he instead like threatens to stab this dude in the other ear. He's like, I'll make a hole in the other ear.
Now, if this guy was a real badass, he would have just ripped the earring right out of his ear and taken that ice chipper thing and then stabbed Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
That's how I would have done it.
Right. Well, it's kind of like that scene in Airheads where Chris Farley's telling that dude to move back at the club or something. And he's like asking for... No, that's later. He's asking where the girl is, and the guy's like giving him trouble, and he rips the nipple ring out. And he's like, what are you going to do about it? I was like, what? Like, improvise.
Now, that would hurt a little bit more, I think.
A lot. So this you pointed out to me because the guys are like going to try and help the manager on the table, but he tells the other guys to stay away. And when he does, his mouth doesn't move.
Oh, that's right. I was like, what? What did I say? What? I don't think I wrote it down.
We rewound it because it was so funny. He's like, no, Richie, stay away, man. He's like mouth does not move. And they were like, well, we've got to tell him to stay away. How? We got to go back in there and put the voice in.
How would people know?
At this point, the fight's over. Howard says, I'll give you all space rabies. And he's like, bah! And they all run away scared as if that's a real thing.
Do ducks get rabies?
I don't know. No, avians cannot get rabies. So,
wow.
If somebody had Google right there, it'd be like, hey, he's bullshitting. Avians cannot get rabies.
Yeah, just shows kind of how dumb they are.
Yeah, they are pretty dumb. Well, Howard goes back in the dressing room with all the women. He's says he's all sorry about it.
Ugh. And Leah, she's just kind of like, just like acting all butthurt and shit.
Yeah, and she's like, oh, you broke my heart after one night.
Yeah.
Howard has a weird line here where he's like, I forget how it gets set up, but he says something like, oh, sex appeal. Some have it and some don't. And he like touches a woman's leg. And they're all like, oh, this duck is horny. Speaking of horny, Tim Robbins comes in here and he's like, hey, I've got beer and stuff. You guys played a great show. And he's like, I'm here to watch you all undress. And the woman he's dating is like, oh.
No, yeah.
He's
like, no, for real.
I'm not joking. Start undressing. Start undressing. I wasn't fucking kidding.
Do it right now.
He sees Howard, and that's when he quacks at him again. He's like, wicka, wicka, wicka. He starts DJing. He's like, wicka, wicka, wicka. Howard, wicka, wicka. And I think does he say something of the effect of like, oh, he told his bosses or he's going to tell his boss about him at the moment. Because there is a weird line here where the girl he's dating is like kissing on him, Tim Robbins, and he's like something to the effect of, well, I'm going to go tell my bosses about you to see what we can do about maybe getting you home. And as he starts to leave, you just hear him be like, no sex, I'm working tonight. And he walks out.
Oh, I didn't get that.
And at this point, Howard does give the girls the money and says, hey, I got rid of your manager. And they're like, you got us out of our contract? And one lady in the back goes, Mr. Duck, you're wonderful.
Oh, wow.
So here it is. Later, a little further in my notes, like I said, I should have looked them over. As we sat down, I realized I didn't. I just read the history of the comics. But Tim Robbins says a colleague is bringing a feather to him that they found.
Oh, yeah. A secret colleague.
Yeah, a secret colleague is bringing a feather that they found and he wants to match it. So he needs to get a feather from Howard.
Mm-hmm.
And Howard is not fucking happy about that.
Yeah, he's like, no.
I
only have a couple left.
Yeah, he's got duck pattern baldness.
Yeah. I can't give up any more feathers.
He's like, that doesn't come back.
Mm-mm. If you pluck it, no.
Yeah, God. Well, he does. Howard is like trying to walk away and he like plucks it out of his asshole.
Oh, that's gonna hurt.
The most problematic scene now really starts in the movie, but he goes home with Leia again. He's staying at her place, and she's like kind of just watching him from afar, but he starts like writing the Howard the Duck song pretty much at this point. Because she's got like a little piano synthesizer, and he's like messing with it. It's like doom 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 doom. He's like boop, a boop boop, a boop boop, and he's like Howard the Duck.
It is so catchy.
Yeah, you were. So after we watched this movie, I went to the bathroom and I came out. You were dancing, and you didn't see me at first, and I'm like, "Were you dancing to Howard the Duck?" And you were like
snapping my fingers, like bebopping.
I was like, "You were dancing to the Howard the Duck song," and you were like, "Yeah."
Like I was. I don't even know the words.
Well, he says he was in a high school band or something called Howard and the Heartbreakers.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, you would be a fantastic manager for this band. And I guess he's a duck. She doesn't really know if he can like handle the business other than beat people up.
I mean, he can do anything he wants.
Yeah, he's like, I invested your money poorly and you're broke.
Well, we're in the same position then, so...
I'm a duck. I don't know how money works. So she's in lingerie or like a nightie or whatever.
Yeah.
But she starts like making her bed and the camera is like showing her ass. And Howard's just like, oh my God, it's a woman's ass.
Yeah.
You think he wouldn't be like into humans.
It's weird, right?
Yeah, you think she wouldn't be into ducks.
Like how? I don't really understand. Because he's into ducks. I mean, we know that. He's like a freaking perv.
I know, you think he would be like, you don't have any feathers? My God.
Yeah.
It's like when I look at a hairless cat, I'm like, my God, that's gross. Ew, I touch your skin and it's all weird.
I don't understand it. I didn't mind this scene, though.
Why is that?
I thought it was very nice.
Well, and I hate this kind of thing with women where she's like, you know, Howard, I need to find a man. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And like, you're doing pretty well. You're in a punk band and, you know, doing well. And then she's like, I'm not happy until I have a man.
Nah, that goes with the times.
She's like, do you think maybe I'll find happiness in the animal kingdom? I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Here we go.
I'm writing a new song about bestiality.
Oh.
You and me having bestiality. She's like hitting on him and his feathers on his head stick straight up like he's got an erection.
That's kind of funny.
He's like, I can't, I have a headache. And she's like, well, I've got the aspirin.
Yeah, this is where the $2 million comes in on that suit, you know, to get those feathers to raise up and go back down.
The mouth moving, hiding this little 13-year-old kid's boner.
Yes. Oh, for fuck's sake.
The kid in there is like, I don't know what I'm feeling. That's how they sold it to him. They were like, you're going to be in a bed with a grown-up woman. And
I don't know if I could do this.
No.
And I guess it's, you know, like that's what I'm thinking. Is it Leah or Leia?
Leia.
Leia. I think I called her Leah. Anyway, if I was Leia, I'd be like, how? Knowing that there is a 13-year-old kid inside this costume. How?
Hey, Miss Thompson, I'm happy that we're gonna film our almost sex scene today.
How? Like, I cannot wrap
I know.
my head around it, and I can't, like, as a kid, that didn't even register.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I hope they fall in love. That's what I was thinking as a kid.
Yeah.
I hope they stay together.
It's funny, as kids, you're just like, oh, well, yeah, there's no problem that she's wanting to have sex with this duck. When you get older, you're like, having sex with a duck? What the fuck?
I mean, when we started this, I'm like, wait, this is like a costume.
Mm-hmm.
There's maybe a little person is in there.
Yeah, like a 40-year-old
correct
man.
term for that. I don't want to diss anybody there, but
Yeah, no midges.
I like.
I'll cut that out.
I just this scene really got to me. Anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely very strange. Well, thankfully Jeffrey Jones. Well, no, actually, no. Thankfully, Jeffrey Jones from Ferris Bueller's Day Off as well. And Tim Robbins and another man show up. They just walk in. He's like, "Your door was open." He sees them about to obviously get it on.
Yeah.
And they're not like, the fuck was about to happen in here?
She kisses him on the beak.
Yeah. Jeffrey Jones, if people don't know, he played the principal in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Like in the 90s or 2000s or whatnot, he was convicted of taking nude photos of young boys. So, his career's pretty much done with. And it's odd to watch him now.
Yeah, he's so gross.
Yeah, they were like, well, we've got an actor to play Howard the Duck. And he's like, well, how old is the boy? How old is the actor? And they're like, well, we did get this kid. He's like 13 years old. And he's like, perfect.
Well, you think? I mean, he's sick, like, in the head.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine that just happened overnight. I can imagine that he's still sick in the head in this movie.
I know. He's probably like, can I watch you put the suit on?
Ugh. That is just gross.
I'm probably going to listen back to this and be like, what the fuck was I talking about? I'm going to edit this whole goddamn thing.
Me too. But it is a thing. We got to talk about it.
Yes, it is very hard to watch movies with him now, knowing that he is a fucking sexual deviant. But he comes in, he is Tim Robbins' like boss or friend or whatever, and he's like, we work at a laboratory with a super laser, and we were trying to send signals into space, and it overloaded, and we thought we opened up a portal somewhere, and a single feather came through. And he's like, this is the same night that you came here.
Oh my gosh.
It's like Doc, where he's like talking about the future and Back to the Future.
Yeah. And he just does a little overacting too, I think.
He comes off as like he's excited, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe that's what I'm getting confused with. Excitement versus overacting.
Yeah. He was like, I think I can find a way and how we can send you back. And Tim Robbins is like, well, no, you can stay here and we can be famous. And I wrote it here in my notes because Jeffrey Jones here shakes Howard's hand. He's like, I think we can come up with a way to get you home. Shake, shake. And I wrote in my notes, I hope that kid wasn't in that costume at that point. Like, we're going to have to make, maybe it was $2 million because it was $1 million for the one with the kid in it. And then it was another $1 million to make one that was just a doll. But like, all right, whenever Jeffrey Jones is around, we use the one that doesn't have a kid in it.
Oh, you know what?
What?
Maybe because the Howard the Duck was laying down when Leia was touching on him. So maybe the kid wasn't in there.
It could be. And hopefully the kid wasn't in there whenever Jeffrey Jones was around.
Yeah. But that kind of makes me feel a little better about her and how she could do this if there wasn't anybody in there at all.
I don't know. Well, Jeffrey Jones and his crew go off to the lab to kind of get things prepped, and Tim Robbins and Leah, they drive him in like a truck, and Howard is saying his goodbyes, and you're just like, wow, this movie's over, all right, how about this? And Leah's like, you must have been born from a hard-boiled egg. And he's like, I don't know what that means. And he was like, Leah, you are making it hard for me to leave. No, seriously, I am hard right now.
And what I find funny is they're like, "Yep, we can get you back home," and they are just immediately like saying their
I
goodbyes,
know.
and it's just, you know, doom and gloom right now.
It's strange. He was like, I think I can get you home. You can get me home. Well, I said, I think. No,
Yeah,
I heard you say you can.
yeah, that's what I meant. That they think they
I
can,
know.
not a definite, and they're just like, "Oh, I'm gonna miss you."
Well, they get to this lab and all these alarms are going off. And Tim Robbins is like, well, I don't understand why this is going on. And he turns the alarm off. They run into this dude whose face is burned. And he
He's
was,
like, "My eyes, my eyes."
yeah. And he's like, the laser, it blew up again. It's like, they have no right to tamper with science. And then he just walks off. They're like, not going to give that guy medical
Right.
attention.
No, he'll figure it out.
His sight will come back, I'm sure.
Hmm.
One of the people in this lab when they get in it is David Paymer. He's been in a ton of stuff, but it sucks to see him in this.
Mm.
He gives some exposition saying Jeffrey Jones' character was working on the laser. It blew up. I guess they didn't have money enough for it to show this, but Jeffrey Jones was caught in the blast. And I even have it in my notes. I'm like, I guess they ran out of money to show this.
Well, yeah.
They're like, it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. It was this big laser blast and people flew away. And man, if it was in a movie, it'd be pretty badass to see. Not this one.
If only.
So the police show up, and I wanted to see if this cop, like the police detective, was anybody, but I didn't take the time to look it up.
Mm.
You can tell I'm so into this movie.
Yeah.
Obviously.
By this time, you're like, I can't wait until it's over.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the cop is telling him to take the duck suit off, and he was like, I can't.
So you know what they arrest him for?
Police brutality.
No.
What?
Being an illegal alien.
Right. I wonder why I put police brutality.
I don't know. Maybe that's later when they escaped.
I don't know. That does make sense because this cop does say something to the effect of building a wall to keep these people out.
Oh, God. Gotta.
Make America great again.
Yeah, MAGA. Got a MAGA hat on.
Make Duck World great again. They have Howard and they're trying to like get this suit off of him. They think it's a suit and it's like him in his boxers. He's got like little duck boxers on, and
Kind of cute.
so they arrest him for being an alien, and for some reason this cop is like sitting there with him in this lab, and he like stops to get a cigar.
Yeah, you're like, ooh, cigar. And then there just happens to be one lit already.
Yeah, and Howard throws it in the trash,
Yeah.
and the cop like goes in for it, and he knocks him in the trash,
That's kind of a weird.
and he says, "Fire! I just burned a man to death." Wait, he throws the lit cigar in the trash and screams, "Fire!"
Yes.
And as this cop is like grabbing for it, he knocks him in there.
Yeah, Leia was in on it as well. She's like, "Oh yeah, fire! Oh."
Yeah, because she gets a gun, or she pulls his gun, I think.
Yeah, she does.
And she pulls it on this cop like, I'm gonna go to jail for this duck.
Well, she's in love.
I know, and she says one of the worst lines of the movie. She says, "Book him, Ducko."
Mm-hmm.
And Howard's like, I don't get that reference.
He's like, "Yeah, I don't get it.
Well, it's a TV show.
Shouldn't my name be Dan?
Dano. You don't have that TV show in Duck World? No.
Oh. Hate it when people don't get my jokes.
I have it in my notes here that I paused it to go to the bathroom, or for laundry. I was doing laundry at this point, so I paused it to switch out the laundry. We had an hour left.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, how the fuck is this possible?
And I just want to brag. Yes, Scott does the laundry.
Oh, yeah. I don't mind doing it.
I love him so much. He does the dishes as well. No, you can't have him.
Well, we're married, so obviously. And so the cops are like gathering, trying to find him, and one cop goes, "Oh, this duck, he got away." And you hear in the background this other cop go, "Aw."
Aw, shucks.
Well, it's like, John, I know you were very invested, but yes, he got away. Oh. And they were like, well, he took the gun from the other cop, so shoot to kill.
Yeah.
Leia Thompson, they're like listening around the corner, and she takes the gun she stole and throws it in like a vat of acid. She's like,
Oh.
whoop, just tosses it. I'm like, oh, you might have needed that.
I didn't get that, but I guess she just wanted to get it away from her.
I guess she's been like, well, I'm not ready to kill a cop. As they are trying to escape the facility, they run into Jeffrey Jones, which is not something you want to do. You don't want to see a Jeffrey Jones in the dark stumbling around the corner.
Mm-mm.
He's like, where's my camera? Where's my photos?
Things are about to get...
Possessy.
Yes. Very possessy.
See, what really pisses me off about this is that he keeps telling them, he's like, I am from a different world. This doctor is no longer here. And they're like, shut up.
Yeah, they're just like, he just needs some coffee.
Yeah.
Like, he is being real weird right now. There is no way anybody from another world could come here, even though Howard the Duck is from another world. He's actually a 13-year-old kid.
Right.
It's fine.
Yes, I know. And this is where we get to the parts that like scared me. I don't know why it freaked me out about him being possessed.
Well, it is a little scary.
My parents were religious, so the thought of being possessed seemed real to me at the time.
You're like, he is going to hell, which he is.
In real life, actually,
no
he
idea.
is.
Yeah.
They drive away, and he's for some reason they let this dude who is super fucked up and just in this gigantic explosion drive this car.
Yeah.
They're like, you drive, Doc. We'll sit here. Hopefully, you don't have like a concussion or brain damage.
Yeah, and I mean, it's quite a ride.
Yeah, he says at one point, like it feels like something is eating at my guts.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, what did you have for lunch?
There's so many stupid things.
Yeah, he's like, oh, it feels like I'm transforming. And Howard, very ahead of his times, like, what, like a sex change?
Yeah. It just talks about the end of the world.
Yeah, and I wrote it in my note. I'll stop saying that. I see it here in my notes that every time they're driving, it shows like a car going through traffic, but when it shows them in the car, you can obviously tell it's not moving.
Yeah.
They're just sitting there, like, bouncing.
I know. It's what they had,
They're, like, freaking out, and he driving all crazy and shit like that, but he eventually pulls into a Japanese diner.
Yes. This is the weirdest thing.
Yeah, like, he almost crashes into the wall, or the glass, but he eventually stops, and they go in, and it's an all-night diner, and the waiters and waitresses are wearing, like, Japanese headbands.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to know everything about this place. I want to, like, what the fuck is this?
We need a place like this.
Well, they don't even serve, like, Japanese, because he says we need 3 specials, and she brings him, like, breakfast.
Yeah, but there is, like, I don't know, are they called sous chefs?
Yeah.
There's one of those in the back. I got one of those.
I get one of them chefs.
Because, things happen later, and he's Chinese, and looks like he's doing
Like sushi?
Chinese stuff.
Chopping like sushi and things, you mean.
Exactly.
Doing Japanese stuff.
Yeah.
Well, Jeffrey Jones is now gone at this point, and he's doing a voice where he's like, it is the end of the world. I will be here. I will bring the others.
That's crazy.
And they're all like, shut the fuck up, you psycho.
Yeah, have some more coffee. You just need some good Japanese diner food.
What's funny is, don't they order beers too? Or they were like, oh, we'll have the beer. And this waitress this lady is like, this is my first acting gig, and she's, pretty funny.
Yeah, I thought she was great. I remember liking her as a kid.
Yeah, because she's like, whoa, look at his costume. And she's like, well, what do you guys need to eat? And he's like, well, we'll have 3 specials. Because, Jeffrey Jones just won't shut the fuck up about the end of the world. And they're like, the dude's been in a terrible accident. His brain's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And the waitress brings the specials, and it has, like, eggs on it, and Howard freaks out. So is it like he's seeing, like, his version of cum or something on there? Or, like, dead babies?
I'm guessing dead babies.
Jesus Christ.
Dead fried babies. Because I think they were over easy.
Yeah.
They weren't completely fried.
Well, he freaks out, and the waitress takes it away. And she's like, great, I'm going to have to throw these out. You just wasted a shit ton of money.
Yeah, eggs are pretty expensive.
And Jeffrey Jones shoots lasers out of his eyes and blows up the ketchup and mustard, so they finally are like, oh my god, something is really wrong with this dude.
Yeah, but everybody in the diner is just kind of like, oh, this is just Friday night.
Well, I mean, you see some weird shit at a diner.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't anything to them. They're like, oh, last time the guy levitated me.
Especially if it's like 2 in the morning, 2 or 3 in the morning. Oh my gosh. So I remember one time I was much younger, and I think we were in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
I was drunk off my ass, and we decided to go into this diner. And oh my gosh, this was like the grossest place ever.
Yeah.
And I made it even worse in the bathroom. And then, yeah, then we ate.
Did you throw up?
Yes.
Oh, God.
And then I'm like, I feel better.
Well, I just want to clarify what you did. Like, what end did it come out of?
Yeah. Yes. Nope. I did vomit because severely drunk. Yes.
Yeah. Well, it happens.
Yeah, it did.
Jeffrey Jones says at this point that he has the key to the laser. He calls it the code key. And it will bring about the other overlords from the dark dimension into the human race, or the planet, to destroy the human race. And I don't really know why, but the rednecks in this diner start harassing him for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not looking it up, and I'm not watching this fucking movie ever again, but Howard, they start messing with him because Howard's like mouthing off, and they all pick him up, and he starts like throwing pies at him.
Oh, they come over and hit on Leia.
Gotcha. Yeah, Howard smarts off, and they start, fighting with him, and he's like throwing pies, and this goes on for a while. It really could have been cut down.
But what's really funny is they think that child molester guy,
Jeffrey Jones?
Jeffrey Jones, is a ventriloquist controlling Howard.
That's right, yeah. Because Howard smarts off, and they're like, hey, why'd you say that to me?
Oh, and this is where Leia announces that Howard is her boyfriend.
That is a funny moment because, yeah, they're all, like, getting ready. They pick him up, like, they're all going to take him back and start cooking him in the kitchen. She goes, put him down. He's my boyfriend. And they all look at her like, are you fucking crazy?
Yeah, like, what?
Oh, my God. We really need to kill this thing.
This is a 13-year-old kid. How?
Why would you do this, lady? So they do take him back into the kitchen, and this sous chef is like, oh, I'm going to cook this duck up.
Yeah.
And he's asking for Jeffrey Jones's help. He was like, please help me shoot them with your lasers or something. And Leah Thompson's like, he has these people have the code key. And he's like, because Howard took it from him. And he's like, if I take it from you, you're not going to be able to bring these other guys in. But Leah tells him, these redneck people have the code key. So he starts getting up and he starts glowing and he's like throwing shit at these people.
Yeah.
A waiter was like, oh, this guy must have had the chili.
Yeah, that was kind of
Funny line. Jeffrey Jones electrocutes the main hillbilly, like levitates a knife, starts blowing things up. He starts quipping at these people. He's like, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, when did this demon that has possessed him learn that phrase?
Quipping all over the place.
So he blows that place up, and all the people are like running out scared. And Howard and Beverly try to leave, and he like blocks the doors with chairs.
Yeah, and these fake plants.
Yeah, fake plants. He drops Howard to the ground, and he takes Leah Thompson now and makes her a victim throughout this movie, where he's like, I'm going to steal your girlfriend, and now you're going to have to come find her. And I'm sure Leah Thompson's like, I become kidnap bait in the third act? Oh, great. Yeah, Jeffrey Jones like steals a big rig and puts Leah Thompson in it. He does run over Howard as they're leaving this diner, which is pretty funny. He ducks down.
Oh. I was reading my notes.
He ducks down, and the big rig just drives right over him. Jeffrey Jones in the truck says he needs Leah's body to bring other overworlds into this world.
This is where the really scary part happens.
Yeah, you want to say it?
Yeah, so he's like, I'm hungry. And she's like, well, I ordered the special and you didn't eat it.
Yeah.
So then like this claw thing comes out of his mouth.
Yeah, he opens his mouth and it's like popping out.
Ugh.
it goes into the cigarette lighter. If you remember cigarette lighters,
I think they still have them. My car has them.
I was just thinking, does mine? Yeah, it goes. He's like, I need more energy. So this lighter goes. His tongue thing goes into the lighter and starts like sucking power. You see the truck is like driving faster. It looks like, and it's like blowing smoke out of the exhaust a lot.
Oh.
So all these cops now show up to this diner, and they've got Tim Robbins in the back. They've arrested him, and at first I was like, why is he here? I was like, what? And they were like, oh, they must have arrested him at the lab. He's like walking, or he's in the back of the car, and he's like, please let me out. And he hears Howard. Howard's like, Frizzard. And Howard is pretending to be like a statue.
Yeah, he's pretending to be a chicken.
Yeah, he comes over to let Tim Robbins out, and Tim Robbins is like, no, I'll get out. And he leans over the front seat and starts to climb out the window. And Howard's like, well, have you checked that the door's unlocked? And he just opens it.
Mm-hmm. That's funny. So
he tells Tim Robbins, that they need to save Leah Thompson. They go next door to like a hangar, I think they said. And
oh, it was a warehouse.
Warehouse, right. Mm. This part doesn't really make too much sense, but they find a plane, like a little mini plane, propeller. It's like one of those things that like hobbyists can do.
Yeah, it has like a lawnmower engine on it. You got to pull it to start it.
Yeah, when I lived with my parents, this guy who was the dad of one of my friends used to do this thing where he was like in like a little go-kart type thing, but it had a gigantic fan on the back, and it had like a parachute. And I guess you just take off, and the parachute, and he would be super high up, but he would just be like kind of...
Shit.
Yeah, he just did that for fun.
Scary.
I would be scared. But yeah, they find this plane, and Tim Robbins is like, I'm going to help put it together, you'll have to help me, and we'll fly there. We'll be there in no time. We can't just get a car and just leave right now.
Nope. Because neither one of them know how to drive.
Right. Well, it's morning time now. We cut to Jeffrey Jones and Leah Thompson, and I thought they had made it to the lab, but apparently this is just a pit stop at a nuclear facility.
Yeah.
Because Jeffrey Jones needs more power.
Yeah, they pass by it, and he's all like, yum.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
It's very funny because they go into this facility. Well, it's just Jeffrey Jones, right? I don't think Leah Thompson goes in.
No, he ties her up.
Right, that's right. He goes in and he looks like shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
He looks like he is absolutely hungover, but he's touring with this people, and the guys are like, oh, if you come here, this is the entrance to the nuclear reactor,
He kind of looks like he's done some meth. How they have the burns on their face?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sores and stuff.
Uh-huh.
He's like, I've been up all night.
Smoking meth.
Doing power. I'm like, is power slang for meth?
That's a new drug.
I've been doing toot.
Toot power.
I've been tooting all night and getting power. So the tour leaves, and he breaks into this nuclear reactor, and he opens the door, and all these alarms are going off, but he walks in, and it looks like he walks into heaven almost. It's just like a blaring light, and he walks into it, and it cuts.
And I think at this point you were like, wouldn't everybody die of radiation?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because I totally forgot. But yeah, you think opening a nuclear reactor with people in the building or whatever would be pretty bad.
It would be real bad, I would imagine, because there's a reason why that's, behind
all the security.
Yeah.
Well, bafflingly, Jeffrey Jones is alive at the end of this movie. You think he would be like, I have every form of cancer known to man.
Mm-hmm. Nope. Too bad. He is still alive.
Unfortunately, the actor Jeffrey Jones is alive.
It is very heartbreaking.
He couldn't be like, well, when we filmed Howard the Duck, they made me go into a real nuclear reactor, so I have every cancer in real life.
Mm-hmm. They knew at that time I was a complete piece of trash.
You see how he's been acting around the actor that plays Howard the Duck? I think something's wrong.
I think something. Yeah. Something's up. He wants to see his little duck dick.
Dude, when that kid took the helmet off of the Howard the Duck head, he asked if he could smell it.
Oh, yeah.
There's something wrong here. So this scene is pretty damn long too. Howard and Tim Robbins finally take off in this thing, and it's just a wacky adventure. I mean, they just fly. The cops are like right behind him the whole time.
It's a quacky adventure.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
You are. I didn't think of that. That's very funny. I don't know what to say about it. I mean, it's just like
Yeah.
cars get destroyed. It's like the Blues Brothers, which apparently John Landis was supposed to direct this movie. Steven Spielberg had asked him. He directed the Blues Brothers. And when he read this part of the script, he was like, well, big car crashes and stuff is exactly like the ending of the Blues Brothers. And he's like, I don't really want to direct that again.
The same thing as I've done.
Which is a good thing because later, John Landis would direct a segment for the Twilight Zone movie, and a helicopter would crash, killing an actor and 2 kids.
Oh.
So, you know, it's probably not a good idea to have a child actor, Tim Robbins, around a helicopter-like vehicle.
Yikes.
Yeah, and it came out, it was bad. It was like filming at night. The helicopter pilot was like, I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be flying at night.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Yeah, in the movie, the Twilight Zone movie, this segment is about a racist who goes back through time, and he becomes like if I remember right, he becomes like a black man during KKK, and he's like going through Vietnam, if I remember. But basically in the movie, he is in Vietnam, and he's like trying to save these 2 kids that are trying to be killed by the Vietnamese. And what happened is this helicopter was flying too low, I don't remember the logistics of it, but basically is the helicopter crashed while the actor of the movie was had these 2 kids, these actors in the scene. Helicopter crashed, they were all decapitated and killed instantly.
Oh.
And these kids were like not union actors or were not supposed to be there. So it was a huge deal. How John Landis got away with it, he kind of got like a slap on the wrist.
Oh my gosh, that's devastating.
Yeah, I don't, it's terrible. It's like a horrific thing. And he's like, well, I don't want to direct Howard the Duck. The helicopter scene, though, intrigued me. I think I may take inspiration for that later. Does anybody get decapitated?
You could have been like, oh, what if he would have done Howard the Duck and maybe those kids would still be alive?
Or Tim Robbins and that kid in the duck suit would be decapitated. He's like, I want to film this
true.
helicopter scene at night.
Either way, kid dies. It's not good.
Not good, no.
Not good.
Well, they eventually get to the fucking lab. What do you want from us? I mean, fuck you.
Let's please not go through the whole thing. At this point, I'm like, wow, I did not realize how long this movie was.
I know. They get to the lab and they're like, we need something to fight this demon. And Tim Robbins takes him to like a weapons store, like a experimental weapons facility. And they get like a laser beam type thing.
A neutron disintegrator.
Oh, yeah.
Derp, derp, derp. They're like, well, we can't just carry this fucking thing around. We got to get a little go-kart over here.
Yeah, they get like a little transportation vehicle and they've like attached it to it so Howard can drive and shoot at the same time.
I said go-kart. I meant golf cart.
Right.
Go-kart's a little different.
Go-kart, that's a golf cart. So they get into the lab. They see that he is now targeting the Dark Lord's homeworld to bring them all in. Mm-hmm. And as they come in, Leah Thompson, just uttering, again, terrible lines, goes, "Be careful, Howard. He's in a bad mood."
Ah, no way.
And we should note that Jeffrey Jones, after the thing, is like completely fucked up. His hair is completely white. And he's lost like a bunch of hair. His face is all fucked up. He's got like kind of demon hands. Mm-hmm. After being in the nuclear reactor.
He is transitioning.
He's now a they them because there's more than one person in him. He shoots laser beams and Tim Robbins like deflects it with like a mirror type thing or whatever, like a.
No, I have no fucking clue.
He deflects it and he's like his hair's on fire. It's like smoking after he deflects it.
Now, one weird thing I thought here is that Howard gets into the golf cart thingy and ends up crashing.
Yeah.
Or no. They were getting it ready, and then Howard pushes a button, and the cart just takes off on its own, and it crashes.
Yeah.
And then that's when he deflects this beam.
Mm-hmm.
And then Howard gets back in it to try to get the cart to go.
Right.
But it wouldn't go.
Because.
And then Tim's all like, oh, you got to buckle the seatbelt. And so that's what he does, and then it goes. But how did he push a button and it go? But then now he has to buckle the seatbelt and it go.
I don't know. It's like they wanted to put a safety message in for the kids that are still here. They were like, kids, don't forget to buckle your seatbelts every time you get into a car.
Yeah, because kids are totally should be watching this movie.
Right. Definitely not at this point.
Oh my goodness, I didn't like that part.
Yeah,
Like,
it was dumb.
How?
Well, they get into like a western, like a standoff. You've got Jeffrey Jones on one end and Howard the Duck in the car, the go-kart type thing with the laser on the other. He starts to drive towards Jeffrey Jones, and Jones spits acid out of his mouth.
Yeah.
He's he's spitting blood out, like he got hurt. He spits it on the ground, and it's like acid.
Like he was chewing.
Yeah, that's
He
a better.
was chewing on some cancer that had formed in his mouth, and when he spit that out, it's like acid.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, that was actually not scripted. I did that for real, and acid came out, and I was like, should I go to the doctor? And they're like, no.
No, it's fine. It's just it's natural.
They were like, should we take him to the doctor? He may be really sick. He's like, no. I saw some of the photos he was taking earlier. He's got to be killed.
No, he's got to die. But we got to get him through this movie first.
Well, Howard shoots this laser off, and it creates a huge explosion. Jeffrey Jones is like trying to shoot his power beams at him, and an explosion happens, and they do end up finding Jeffrey Jones, and he's like, he's no longer in me. He's still here, though. In me as in possessed, you sicko.
What? I'm not laughing.
Tim Robbins and Leah Thompson. Tim Robbins is like untying Leah Thompson, and they like kind of arguing about it, and then this big stop motion animation Dark Lord comes out.
This is like the worst part.
It doesn't look great today. I mean, you can tell it's like they filmed this and then they put the actors in like afterwards. They kind of put it together.
Yeah.
Because whenever Howard's standing there looking at it, it looks bad.
It does. Very, very, very.
But this thing is like a reverse scorpion because his legs are backwards than how a normal. And he's got like claws type things and like tentacles come out of the claws.
Hands?
Well, they're not like hands. They're weird, but like tentacles come out of the hands.
Yeah, they're out the middle of the hands is kind of what came out of his mouth.
Like dogs with bees, and when they bark, the bees come out of their mouths. That's The Simpsons. He activates this thing, and the computer is like 5 minutes until demons.
Until demons. That's it.
This I wondered how it would affect you afterwards, but this Dark Lord shoots like a beam of light at Leah Thompson and Tim Robbins, and it's like they're getting
electrocuted.
Yeah, like constantly, and they're like, Howard!
They look a little translucent and sparkly.
Yeah, you think like, spoiler alert, they're fine when they kill the Dark Lord, but you would think they would be like, Howard, please kill me. Kill me. That was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. Kill me.
Yeah, because they look like they're being tortured.
And it's funny because Howard is like talking to this thing like, oh no, don't hurt him. And he just keeps like shooting at them. It's like in Futurama where they're making fun of Star Trek and instead of Scotty, they've got Welshie. And like the dead body of Welshie's there and they just keep shooting it. He's like, oh, Howard, you've pissed me off. Shoots Leah and Tim Robbins. And he's like, I'm going to take you down, Dark Lord. Oh, you think so? Shoot Leah and Tim Robbins.
They're like, shut the fuck up, Howard.
Howard, stop making him mad. Does he blast it with the laser again? Or does he just... Or I think he blows the laser up or something. You know what? We're going with it. He blows the laser up.
Yeah, it was like 2 minutes until arrival. And then Howard's like, I got to get back up on this cart.
Yeah.
To blow the monster.
Yeah, and he's sitting there, and he pauses for a minute because if he doesn't do it, he won't be able to go home. And it just shows Jeffrey Jones standing to the side for a second. It quickly cuts to him, and he just goes, kill it! Very funny. You start to see all these other demons, and they look exactly like this Dark Lord, but they're starting to come through the sky a little bit. And Howard says, goodbye, Duckburg, and he blows the laser up.
Yeah. But Leia was kind of like, no, you'll never be able to go home again. And he couldn't, like, the Neutron is on this cart, right?
Yeah.
He couldn't use the cart for some reason. He's got to pick up that Neutron and put it on his shoulder
Yeah.
because that's like badass, right?
I mean, he wants to be the hero.
And then he shoots it and kills, the laser beam.
Yeah, and I wrote in here and said, how anyone had a career after this movie is just insane to me.
I didn't think it was that bad. We'll get to that. Okay.
Well, they're fine. Tim Robbins, Leah Thompson, they are no longer being shocked. Their souls are no longer being torn apart in their bodies. They find Howard, and he's, like, dead.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my god, Howard is
I
dead.
was like, how do they know he's dead?
He looks dead. He's just laying there with his eyes closed.
Well, I do that when I sleep.
Well, I can tell that you're asleep, though.
Do you think I'm dead when I sleep?
Not at all, because I don't know if you people can hear our dog Lily snoring, but just imagine that, but like 10 times more.
You fucker, that's you.
Well, I don't notice that, but I mean, we both snore.
Mine is cute.
I'm just like, either she is snoring or starting a chainsaw. I don't know. I know mine's bad, but hey, I don't hear it because I'm asleep. And so Howard sits up, and they're like, oh, Howard, you're alive. And he's like, I am not Howard anymore.
Oh, too soon.
Yeah, I know. Like, not a good time to really joke. But he starts coughing, and he's like, sorry, I had stuff in my sinuses.
Uh-huh.
So you're like, oh, thank God the movie's over. We cut to Leah Thompson and her band playing, and you're like, fucking end! Fuck you, Howard the Duck!
This is the best song in the world, man.
I know. Well, Tim Robbins is like their stage tech guy. He's their manager. Well, not their manager, but he's like their technician because he's like in the back working on their pyrotechnics or whatever.
And they're in a better place because they were playing behind a cage before. Now they don't have a cage anymore.
Yeah, talk about the Blues Brothers. They were playing behind chicken wire.
Yeah.
This drummer, by the way, she's not sitting down playing drums. She's playing electronic drums. She's only got like 4 pads, and she's like standing up like, ha ha ha. And I'm like, I hate that. I hate electronic drums like that. I saw a King Crimson thing one time where Bill Bruford was standing up playing his electronic drums, and I'm like, I know it was like the technology of the time, but it just looks dumb to me.
Okay.
I just want like a real kit, you sitting down and playing it, but
Don't stand up and do drums, people. I will piss Scott off.
electronic drums, like, you want to be like Danny Carey and incorporate electronic drums into your others, cool. But like full electronic drums I don't think work. They don't sound good.
All right. There you have it.
Maybe today's standards, I haven't really looked into it, but just my opinion. The 80s were a rough time.
It was. Yeah.
I put a lot of notes in here about that drummer standing up. I just wanted to make it have to say something about it. But you're right. They are singing Howard the Duck. You want to be Howard the Duck.
Do, do, do.
And the crowd knows it because they're like, the Duck.
Yeah. And they like start jamming like hard.
Yeah, because Howard is like, some of the effects don't go off, so he climbs up to the rafters to try and like get it, and he ends up getting like dropped down to the stage.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh my god, yay, it's Howard the Duck.
Hey,
And
Howard.
somebody's like, oh, Howard, play with us. And they bring him like a little guitar.
Yeah.
It's like a little kid guitar.
Yeah, that's cute.
But he starts soloing. He starts shredding like a maniac.
Yep.
He shakes his duck ass at the audience, and it shows these women like going crazy.
Like he's 13. Holy Jesus.
And then you're like, okay, great, it's over. And then they go into the backstage, and you're just like, what the fuck is happening? And he's like, hey, not bad from a duck from space. And she's like, you did great, Ducky. They lean in to kiss, and right before it cuts the credits. And I'm like,
Yeah.
whew. And the little 13-year-old boy's like, so I get to kiss her? You're saying I get to?
Like, take this head off.
Are you? And Jeffrey Jones is like, yes, please.
Oh, God.
Sorry.
Ooh.
And I stood up after this was over, and I was like, this may be one of the worst movies we've done. And you were like, how?
No. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Listen. So I know Drop Dead Fred, which is the episode we did before.
Yeah.
Rewatching that was kind of like, ooh, shouldn't have done it. But this one, yeah, it's not perfect, and it could have been cut down way shorter.
Yeah.
There are some things that could have been cut out. But I still really liked it.
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't really care for it. I thought it was kind of silly and dumb in parts, and the sexuality is all over the place, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
weird. This is weird as hell.
That, I mean, mm-mm.
And, the problems with knowing that it was a 13-year-old boy in there, and that it was Jeffrey Jones, and
You're just trying to make me hate it.
no. You can like it if you want, and I'm sure there's people that have a special place in their heart for it, but rewatching it, I did not care for it.
All right. Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
So that was Howard the Duck, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it. If you would tell a friend about us, maybe, and so they could listen and we can get more downloads. If you have suggestions, we love suggestions. We will jump right on that because we are people pleasers.
Yep.
You can send a message through social media, or you can email us at thefilmobsessedcouple@gmail.com. We really appreciate everything, and that's it.
Well, great. So we got through Howard the Duck, and now I'm excited for this next one because I'm excited for what you think of it. And it's gonna be hopefully not too hard to follow because it is kind of like a time travel-y type movie.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, basically why I'm picking this, we're doing Predestination. It's got Ethan Hawke in it and Sarah Snook. Now, you're like, who is that person? Now we are just got through. I can stop saying now. Now we have just gotten through season 1 of Succession.
Okay.
And Sarah Snook, I hope I'm saying the last name right, is Shiv on the show.
Yes.
And she is in this movie with Ethan Hawke. It's like a time travel, it's almost like the book I'm reading a little bit. It's like time travel investigators. I'm reading Gone World right now.
Interesting.
I really enjoyed it. I haven't seen it since it came out, but I heard good things when I did, and I decided to watch it and enjoyed it. So
Very good.
It'll be fun. Maybe some things, will get slipped by you, or if there's some things that need explanation or want to talk about more, we can.
Okay, I'm excited.
And we can talk about maybe what we would do in time travel.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah. So that is it. We've got Predestination coming up next time, so we thank you all for listening.
Bye-bye.